The first hour of your day often determines the quality of the next 23. Most people lose their day before they ever begin it. They wake up distracted. They reach for their phone. They negotiate with themselves. They postpone the difficult. And without realizing it, they hand control of their lives to impulse. Discipline is not built at noon. It is built before the world demands anything from you. If you master your mornings, you stop reacting to life and start directing it. This audiobook will show you how disciplined mornings create disciplined lives, because every great day begins long before anyone else notices. Chapter 1. Stop waking up. By accident. Most people believe their day begins when they leave the house. They're wrong. Their day begins the moment they open their eyes. In fact, it begins even earlier. It begins with the decision they made the night before. It begins with the habits they repeated yesterday. It begins with the identity they have built over weeks, months, and years. The day begins before you stand. That's the truth most people never recognize. They think success starts at work. They think productivity starts with the first meeting. They think confidence appears after coffee. But discipline doesn't wait for coffee. It doesn't wait for motivation. It doesn't wait until you feel ready. It begins the instant consciousness returns. Look carefully at the average morning. The alarm rings. A hand reaches toward the phone. One more minute, then another. Notifications appear. Messages, emails, social media, news headlines, videos. Without realizing it, the mind has already surrendered. The day has not been chosen. It has been inherited. The schedule belongs to everyone else before it belongs to you. You are reacting before you've even begun living. And reaction is the opposite of discipline. You have a choice. That sentence sounds simple. It is not. Every morning, life presents you with hundreds of tiny decisions. Stand up, or stay in bed. Drink water, or scroll. Move your body, or remain still. Think intentionally, or let algorithms think for you. None of these choices seem important by themselves, but character is never built through one giant decision. It is built through thousands of invisible ones. The day begins before you stand. That first decision creates momentum. Momentum creates behavior. Behavior creates identity. Identity creates destiny. This is why disciplined people often appear calm. It isn't because life is easier for them. It isn't because they were born different. It is because they have practiced making the right decision before emotions have a chance to vote. That is what discipline really is. Not perfection, not talent, not endless motivation. Discipline is choosing what matters before your feelings make the decision for you. Wake with purpose, not permission. Read that again. Wake with purpose, not permission. Too many people wait for permission. Permission to feel energetic. Permission to feel inspired. Permission to finally become serious. Permission from circumstances. Permission from confidence. Permission from tomorrow. You don't need their permission. You don't need motivation's permission. You don't need comfort's permission. You don't need perfect conditions. The moment your eyes open, the opportunity already exists. You have a choice. Consider two people waking up at exactly the same time. Both hear the same alarm. Both slept the same number of hours. Both have demanding jobs. Both face stress. But one immediately stands. The other negotiates. 5 minutes become 15. 15 become 30. The morning becomes rushed. Breakfast disappears. Exercise disappears. Reflection disappears. Soon, the entire day becomes an emergency. Now compare that with the disciplined individual. The alarm rings. Feet touch the floor. No debate, no bargaining, no emotional discussion. One action, then another, then another. Small victories begin stacking. By the time most people are finally convincing themselves to start the day, the disciplined person has already created momentum. Notice something important. Neither person felt dramatically different. The difference wasn't emotion. The difference was action. It's not about feeling ready. It's about becoming reliable. That's the key. Successful people understand something most people ignore. They protect the beginning of the day because they understand it shapes everything that follows. Elite athletes don't wake up wondering whether they'll train. Writers don't wait until inspiration arrives before writing. Military personnel don't ask themselves whether discipline sounds enjoyable today. High performers remove negotiation. They replace decisions with routines, because routines protect discipline from emotion. You can do the same, not because you're extraordinary, because you're capable of repetition. And repetition builds identity. Imagine your morning as the first domino. Tip it correctly. The remaining dominoes begin falling in your favor. Miss the first one. The rest become harder to control. This is why so many people spend their afternoons trying to recover from their mornings. More caffeine, more urgency, more stress, more guilt. They aren't fixing the afternoon. They're paying for the morning. The bill always arrives, sometimes immediately, sometimes years later, but it always arrives. The day begins before you stand. Every morning asks one silent question. Who will lead today? Your discipline or your impulses? There is no neutral answer. If you don't choose intentionally, habit will choose automatically. Automatic living feels comfortable. Until years pass. One morning becomes 1 week. 1 week becomes 1 year. 1 year becomes a decade. People often wonder where the time went. The better question is where their mornings went. Because lives aren't usually lost in dramatic moments. They're quietly surrendered before breakfast. You have a choice. The beautiful part is that tomorrow morning offers another opportunity. Not a perfect opportunity, a real one. When the alarm rings, don't ask yourself how you feel. Ask yourself who you are becoming. That single question changes everything. Are you becoming someone who reacts, or someone who leads? Someone who follows impulses, or someone who builds discipline? Identity is never announced. It is accumulated. One disciplined morning at a time. Wake with purpose, not permission. Stand before comfort convinces you to stay. Move before excuses become louder. Own your first decision, and the next decision becomes easier. Then the next. Then the next. Soon, discipline no longer feels forced. It feels familiar. Eventually, it feels like who you are. Because every sunrise is an opportunity to cast one more vote for the person you want to become. Never waste that vote. The day begins before you stand. Remember those words tomorrow morning. Remember them before you reach for your phone. Remember them before your excuses begin speaking. Remember them before the world demands your attention. Because the quality of your life is rarely decided by dramatic events. It is decided by ordinary mornings repeated with extraordinary consistency. You have taken the first step by choosing to wake with intention instead of accident. Now it's time to master the next battle. Because waking up is only the beginning. The real transformation starts with what you do in the first few moments after your eyes open. Chapter 2. Win the first 5 minutes. The most important battle of your day is over long before breakfast. It is not fought in a meeting. It is not fought at the gym. It is not fought during a difficult conversation. It is fought in the first 5 minutes after you wake up. That is where discipline is tested. That is where identity is revealed. That is where your future quietly begins. Most people think they need to win the entire day. They don't. They only need to win the first 5 minutes, because those 5 minutes decide everything that follows. Think about how procrastination actually begins. It rarely starts with a major decision. No one wakes up and says, "Today I will waste my life." Instead, it begins with one small delay. Just 5 more minutes. Just one more scroll. Just one more video. Just one more excuse. One delay becomes another. Momentum changes direction. Instead of moving toward discipline, you begin sliding toward comfort. That's how procrastination works. It doesn't arrive all at once. It grows quietly. One hesitation at a time. That's why hesitation is dangerous. Hesitation teaches your brain something. It teaches that your emotions are in charge. It teaches that discomfort deserves negotiation. It teaches that promises to yourself are optional. And every lesson repeated becomes part of your identity. You have a choice. The alarm rings. What happens next? Do you move, or do you negotiate? Those few seconds matter more than you realize. Every negotiation weakens authority over yourself. Imagine you're both the leader and the employee. The leader says, "Get up." The employee replies, "Maybe later." If the leader immediately accepts the excuse, who is really in control? Certainly not the leader. Every morning, this conversation happens inside your own mind. One voice represents discipline. The other represents comfort. The problem is that comfort is an expert negotiator. It sounds reasonable. You slept late. You deserve a break. You'll start tomorrow. It won't matter. Comfort never sounds dangerous. It sounds compassionate. Until years have passed. Don't negotiate. That simple sentence can change your life, because every negotiation strengthens the habit of delay. Every immediate action strengthens the habit of execution. Action comes before motivation. Most people have this backward. They wait to feel motivated before taking action. But motivation is unreliable. Some mornings it appears. Many mornings it doesn't. If your success depends on motivation, then your success depends on luck. Discipline refuses to depend on luck. Action comes first. Motivation often follows. Think about exercise. Very few people feel excited before every workout. But once movement begins, energy appears. The body wakes up. The mind becomes sharper. The resistance disappears. The action created the motivation. Not the other way around. The same is true for writing, reading, studying, building a business, making difficult phone calls, cleaning your environment. The beginning always feels harder than the middle, which means the real obstacle isn't the task. It's the starting point. That's the key. If you can master the beginning, you dramatically increase the odds of finishing. Move first. Think later. Notice this does not mean acting recklessly. It means refusing to let unnecessary thinking become an excuse. The disciplined person hears the alarm and stands. The undisciplined person hears the alarm and begins an internal debate. The debate is where discipline dies, because the brain is remarkably creative when searching for reasons to avoid discomfort. It will produce convincing arguments. Logical arguments, emotional arguments, practical arguments. But beneath every one of them hides the same objective. Remain comfortable. Don't negotiate. Move first. Think later. You're not trying to become a machine. You're training yourself to become trustworthy. Every time you immediately stand up after the alarm, you collect evidence. Evidence that you keep promises. Evidence that your words matter. Evidence that you're becoming someone who follows through. Confidence is built exactly this way. Not through compliments. Not through positive thinking. Not through repeating affirmations in the mirror. Confidence grows from evidence. Every completed action whispers the same message. I can trust myself. That whisper eventually becomes certainty. Now imagine the opposite. Every morning you promise to wake up early. Every morning you ignore the promise. What evidence are you collecting? Evidence that your own commitments mean nothing. Evidence that your emotions outrank your intentions. Evidence that tomorrow's promises probably won't matter either. Identity always follows evidence. If you repeatedly prove that you quit, quitting becomes part of who you believe you are. If you repeatedly prove that you act, action becomes part of your identity. It's not about waking up early. It's about becoming reliable. That distinction changes everything. A reliable person doesn't ask whether discipline feels convenient. A reliable person acts because action has become their standard. You have a choice. Each morning, you cast a vote. Not for a political candidate, for your future identity. Every time you move immediately, you vote for discipline. Every time you delay, you vote for comfort. One vote changes very little. Thousands of votes create a life. Think of a pilot preparing an airplane for takeoff. The first few moments are critical. Tiny adjustments determine the entire flight path. A mistake made on the runway becomes much harder to correct in the sky. Your morning works the same way. The first 5 minutes are your runway. If you begin with confusion, delay, and distraction, the rest of the day constantly requires correction. If you begin with clarity and action, the rest of the day naturally follows your direction. Protect those first 5 minutes as if your future depends on them, because it does. Here's a challenge. Tomorrow morning, when the alarm sounds, don't think about your entire schedule. Don't think about your workload. Don't think about your responsibilities. Only think about one movement. Feet on the floor. That's it. Nothing more. No negotiations. No analysis. Just movement. One action creates another. Stand up. Walk to the bathroom. Drink water. Open the curtains. Make the bed. 5 small actions. 5 minutes. Momentum has already begun. Suddenly, discipline feels easier, not because life changed, but because you did. The world has not become less demanding. You have become more decisive. That is the hidden power of the first 5 minutes. They teach you that action is a habit, and habits become identity. Remember these words tomorrow morning. Action comes before motivation. Don't negotiate. Move first. Think later. Repeat them until they no longer feel like advice. Repeat them until they become instinct. Because the people who consistently build extraordinary lives are rarely those with extraordinary talent. They are the ones who consistently win ordinary mornings. You have learned how to defeat hesitation. Now it's time to build a system so reliable that discipline no longer depends on willpower. Because lasting success is never built on isolated victories. It is built on routines that make success inevitable. Chapter 3. Build a morning that never depends on motivation. Motivation is a visitor. Discipline is a resident. One comes and goes. The other stays. That is the difference between people who occasionally succeed and people who consistently succeed. Most people spend their lives chasing motivation. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect Monday, the perfect season, the perfect opportunity. They believe they will finally become disciplined once they feel inspired enough. But inspiration is unpredictable. Some mornings it arrives. Most mornings it doesn't. If your habits depend on your emotions, your future depends on chance. That is a dangerous way to live. You have a choice. You can continue waiting to feel ready, or you can build a system that works whether you feel ready or not. That's the key. Motivation is emotional weather. Some days are sunny, some days are stormy, some days are cold, some days are calm. You cannot control the weather, but you can build a house strong enough to survive every season. Discipline is that house. It is architecture. It is structure. It is something built intentionally, one habit at a time. Imagine two people. The first wakes up every morning asking, "What do I feel like doing today?" The second wakes up already knowing exactly what comes next. Who wastes more energy? The answer is obvious. Every decision consumes mental energy. Psychologists call it decision fatigue. By the time most people have decided whether to get up, check their phone, make coffee, exercise, or shower, they have already spent valuable mental resources. Not on meaningful work, on unnecessary choices. Disciplined people eliminate those choices. They don't wake up wondering. They wake up following a system. Systems beat feelings. Read those words again. Systems beat feelings. Feelings change by the hour. Systems remain. That is why successful people often appear incredibly consistent. Not because they possess extraordinary willpower, because they removed the need for willpower. They replace decisions with routines. The morning becomes automatic, not careless, intentional. Let's build that system together. Simple, repeatable, reliable. It begins the moment your alarm rings. Wake. No negotiation, no second guessing. Stand up, immediately. Remember what you learned in the last chapter. Action comes before motivation. The moment your feet touch the floor, the first victory has already been won. Next comes hydration. Your body has gone hours without water. Your brain is beginning another day. Give it what it needs. Not caffeine first. Water first. A simple glass of water tells your body something important. The day has begun. It is a small action, but discipline is built from small actions performed consistently. Next comes movement. Not because you must complete an intense workout every morning, because movement wakes both body and mind. Stretch. Walk. Do a few push-ups. Practice mobility. Take a short walk outside. It doesn't matter exactly how you move. It matters that you move. Motion creates momentum. Momentum creates discipline. Then breathe. Most people spend their mornings rushing. Few spend them breathing. Slow your breathing. Deep inhale. Slow exhale. Again, again, again. You're reminding your nervous system that you're in control. Not your schedule, not your notifications, not your anxiety. You. Control begins with breath. Now reflect. This doesn't require an hour of meditation. It may only require 2 minutes. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. Who do I want to become today? What is the most important thing I must accomplish? What kind of person will complete it? Notice the focus, not just on tasks, on identity. Because goals change, identity lasts. Finally, begin. Do not continue preparing forever. Preparation eventually becomes procrastination wearing professional clothes. Many people mistake planning for progress. Research for action. Organization for execution. Planning has value, but planning is not doing. Eventually you must begin. Wake, hydrate, move, breathe, reflect, begin. Again, wake, hydrate, move, breathe, reflect, begin. Repeat it tomorrow. Repeat it next week. Repeat it next year. One sequence. Thousands of mornings. One identity. Consistency defeats intensity. People love dramatic transformations. The 30-day challenge, the impossible workout, the overnight success story. They are exciting. They are inspiring. They are also misleading. Real transformation is usually boring. It is quiet, predictable, ordinary. The disciplined person does not try to have the greatest morning of their life every day. They simply refuse to have careless mornings. That small difference changes everything. Imagine brushing your teeth. You don't wake up asking whether you feel motivated to brush them. You simply do it. There is no debate, no emotional conversation, no motivational speech. The habit has become part of who you are. That is exactly what your morning routine should become. Not an achievement, a standard. When discipline becomes your standard, consistency becomes effortless. That doesn't mean every morning feels easy. It means every morning follows the same path. Feelings are welcome, but they are no longer in charge. That's the key. You don't eliminate emotions. You simply stop allowing them to become your leader. There will be mornings when you feel exhausted. Follow the system. There will be mornings when life feels overwhelming. Follow the system. There will be mornings when everything inside you wants another hour in bed. Follow the system. Because systems don't ask how you feel. They remind you who you are. You're becoming someone who follows through. Someone who finishes what they start. Someone who can be trusted, especially by themselves. Remember this. The strongest buildings are not admired because of how they look. They are admired because they remain standing during storms. Your morning routine serves the same purpose. It exists for difficult days. Anyone can be disciplined when life is easy. Character appears when life isn't. That is why your routine must become stronger than your emotions. Systems beat feelings. Consistency defeats intensity. That's the key. Tomorrow morning, don't ask yourself what you feel like doing. Ask yourself one question. What does my system say? Then follow it. Without negotiation. Without hesitation. Without drama. One action, then the next, then the next. Eventually, the routine becomes automatic. Eventually, discipline becomes identity. Eventually, success stops feeling accidental. Because you no longer depend on motivation. You depend on structure. And structure is something you control. You have now built the foundation of a disciplined morning. But before your system can truly transform your life, you must remove the forces constantly trying to destroy it. Because building discipline is only half the battle. Protecting it is the other half. Chapter 4. Remove the morning enemies. Winning your morning is not only about what you do, it is equally about what you refuse to allow. Every disciplined morning has enemies. The problem is that these enemies rarely look dangerous. They don't kick down your door. They don't announce themselves. They arrive quietly. A notification, a message, a headline, a video recommendation, a harmless excuse. One by one, they steal something far more valuable than your time. They steal your attention. And attention is the foundation of discipline. Protect your attention. Those 3 words may be the most important rule of your morning, because wherever your attention goes, your life follows. Think about the moment you wake up. Your mind is fresh. Your focus has not yet been divided. Your thoughts have not yet been pulled in 100 different directions. For a brief moment, your attention belongs entirely to you. Then your phone lights up. One notification becomes 3. 3 become 10. A quick glance becomes 20 minutes. Your morning no longer belongs to you. It belongs to everyone else. Someone else's email. Someone else's opinion. Someone else's emergency. Someone else's algorithm. You started the day as the owner of your mind. Within minutes, you became its employee. That is the hidden cost of distraction. Most people think distractions steal minutes. They don't. Minutes can be recovered. Attention cannot. Every distraction has a price. Sometimes the price is obvious. You arrive late. You skip breakfast. You rush out the door. But the greater price is invisible. Your brain learns a dangerous lesson. It learns that every uncomfortable moment deserves immediate escape. Feel bored? Check your phone. Feel uncertain? Scroll. Feel challenged? Look for entertainment. Feel anxious? Find another distraction. Without realizing it, you train yourself to avoid discomfort instead of overcoming it. That training shapes identity. Every repeated distraction whispers the same message. Relief matters more than growth. Eventually, your brain believes it. You become someone who seeks comfort before progress. That is why distraction is not merely a productivity problem. It is an identity problem. Your future depends on what you ignore. Read those words carefully. Your future depends on what you ignore. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every message requires an immediate reply. Not every notification deserves interruption. Not every opinion deserves space inside your mind. Disciplined people understand a simple truth. Focus grows stronger every time you choose not to look. Ignoring has become a forgotten skill. Modern life rewards instant reaction. Every application competes for your eyes. Every platform competes for your emotions. Entire industries are built around keeping you distracted. Why? Because attention has become one of the most valuable resources in the world. Companies fight for it. Advertisers pay billions for it. Algorithms are designed to capture it. If billion-dollar companies are competing for your attention every second, shouldn't you protect it just as aggressively? Protect your attention. Imagine your attention as a flashlight. Wherever you point it becomes illuminated. Everything else remains in darkness. The flashlight never becomes brighter by pointing in 10 directions at once. It becomes weaker. The same happens to your mind. Multitasking feels productive. In reality, it scatters your concentration. You begin many things. You finish few. The disciplined person chooses differently. One direction, one priority, one focus. That is enough. Another morning enemy hides in plain sight. Clutter, a messy room, an overflowing desk, clothes scattered across the floor, objects without purpose. Many people dismiss clutter as harmless. It isn't. Every object silently competes for attention. Every unfinished task occupies mental space. Every unnecessary item becomes another decision. Should I clean this now? Where did I leave that? I should organize this later. Small thoughts. Constant thoughts. By themselves, they seem insignificant. Together, they exhaust your mind before meaningful work even begins. Remove unnecessary decisions. That is one reason disciplined people prepare the night before. They choose tomorrow's clothes. They organize their workspace. They prepare breakfast. They know what time they will wake up. Not because they love planning, because every decision eliminated is energy preserved. Energy saved in the morning becomes focus available later. Then come excuses. Perhaps the most dangerous enemy of all. Excuses are clever. They rarely sound dishonest. I'm too tired. I'll start Monday. Today is different. I'll make up for it later. Excuses always sound temporary, but repeated often enough, they become permanent beliefs. Don't argue with your excuses. Ignore them. Excuses lose power when they receive no attention. Remember this: your mind will always generate reasons to avoid discomfort. That doesn't mean you must believe them. Thoughts are suggestions, not commands. You have a choice. Imagine walking through a busy marketplace. Hundreds of people call for your attention. Some are selling, some are shouting, some are entertaining. You don't stop at every voice. You continue walking toward your destination. Treat your thoughts the same way. Treat notifications the same way. Treat distractions the same way. Keep walking. Discipline is not about eliminating distractions forever. That is impossible. It is about refusing to let distractions choose your direction. Every distraction has a price. Every ignored distraction has a reward. Each time you resist checking your phone, you strengthen patience. Each time you stay focused, you strengthen concentration. Each time you finish one important task before consuming information, you strengthen self-control. Small victories, repeated daily. Identity changes quietly, one decision at a time. Here's a practical challenge. Tomorrow morning, leave your phone untouched for the first 30 minutes after waking. Not because phones are evil, because your attention deserves better. Spend those 30 minutes investing in yourself before investing in the world's demands. Hydrate. Move. Breathe. Think. Write. Read. Pray. Exercise. Plan. Create. Anything that strengthens you before consuming someone else's priorities. Notice how different the morning feels. Notice how much calmer your thinking becomes. Notice how much more intentional your actions become. That is what protected attention feels like. The greatest opportunities in life rarely arrive to distracted people. They arrive to people who notice, people who think clearly, people who remain present long enough to recognize what others overlook. Attention is not just the source of productivity, it is the source of wisdom. Protect it. Guard it. Train it. Because your attention is your life in its purest form. Where you repeatedly place it eventually becomes who you are. Protect your attention. Every distraction has a price. Your future depends on what you ignore. You have now learned how to defend your mornings from the enemies that quietly steal your discipline. The next step is to create something stronger than distraction itself. Momentum. Because once your body begins moving with purpose, discipline becomes dramatically easier to sustain. Chapter 5. Train before the world interrupts you. Every morning, the world is preparing to demand something from you. Emails, meetings, deadlines, phone calls, responsibilities, unexpected problems. The world never asks whether you're ready. It simply arrives. That is why disciplined people prepare before the world begins making demands. They train before they react. Not because they are obsessed with fitness, because they understand something deeper. Physical movement creates mental momentum. The body teaches the mind. Train your body. Strengthen your mind. Those are not two separate goals. They are the same practice. Many people see exercise as a way to change their appearance, lose weight, build muscle, burn calories. Those are worthwhile goals, but they are not the greatest benefit of morning movement. The greatest benefit is identity. Every workout becomes evidence. Evidence that you can do difficult things. Evidence that discomfort does not control you. Evidence that action matters more than excuses. That evidence stays with you long after the workout ends. Imagine beginning your day by choosing something difficult. Not because you had to, because you decided to. You wake up. Your body feels stiff. Your bed feels warm. Comfort whispers, "Skip today." Discipline answers, "Begin anyway." Every repetition becomes a conversation between those two voices. Each completed movement strengthens one, weakens the other. Over time, discipline no longer needs to shout. It becomes the louder voice. Train your body. Strengthen your mind. Think about how children learn. They don't develop confidence by reading about walking. They develop confidence by falling, standing, trying again. The body teaches the lesson before the mind fully understands it. Adults are no different. When you repeatedly ask your body to overcome resistance, your mind begins believing that resistance can always be overcome. That belief changes everything. Suddenly, difficult conversations feel more manageable. Long workdays become less intimidating. Unexpected setbacks become easier to absorb. Not because life became easier, because you became stronger. Energy follows action. Most people believe they need energy before they begin moving. But movement is often what creates energy. Think about the mornings when you've forced yourself to take a walk, or stretch, or complete a short workout. Did you finish feeling more exhausted? Usually not. You finished feeling more awake, more alert, more capable. Your body responded to movement with greater energy. Action came first. Energy followed. This principle extends far beyond exercise. Start writing. Ideas appear. Begin cleaning. Motivation grows. Take the first step toward a difficult project. Momentum builds. Waiting rarely creates energy. Movement does. Energy follows action. Remember that tomorrow morning. When you don't feel like moving, move anyway. When your mind tells you to stay comfortable, stand anyway, because your body often knows what your emotions have forgotten. Now, here's something remarkable. The workout doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be perfect. It simply has to exist. 10 disciplined minutes can change the emotional direction of an entire day. Think about that. 10 minutes. 600 seconds. Most people spend more than 10 minutes scrolling social media before breakfast. Imagine investing those same 10 minutes in yourself instead. A brisk walk, body weight exercises, stretching, yoga, jump rope, light strength training. Anything that reminds your body one simple truth. We move. Those 10 minutes create something invisible. Self-respect. Every completed workout becomes another promise kept. Another reason to trust yourself. Confidence grows. Not because you became stronger physically overnight. Because you proved something emotionally. You proved that comfort does not make your decisions. A business owner once described his morning workout in a simple sentence. "I finish the hardest thing before breakfast." Think about the power of that mindset. Before most people have finished checking notifications, he has already accomplished something demanding. The rest of the day feels different. Challenges seem smaller. Stress becomes easier to manage. His circumstances haven't changed. His perspective has. Discipline creates momentum. Momentum is one of the greatest forces in human behavior. Once you begin moving, continuing becomes easier. Stopping becomes harder. Think of pushing a heavy wheel. The first push requires tremendous effort. The second becomes easier. The third, easier still. Eventually, the wheel almost carries itself. Your habits work exactly the same way. The first push matters most. Morning movement provides that first push. Afterward, healthy choices become easier. Focused work becomes easier. Patience becomes easier. Even your posture changes. Your breathing changes. Your attitude changes. One disciplined action influences another. That is momentum. Discipline creates momentum. Some people believe they don't have enough time to exercise in the morning. But the real question isn't whether you have time. It's whether you have priorities. You have a choice. If you can spend 20 minutes checking your phone, you have time. If you can spend 30 minutes rushing because you overslept, you have time. If you can spend hours recovering from low energy later in the day, you have time. The issue is rarely time. The issue is intentionality. Even 5 minutes of movement is infinitely more valuable than 0. Do not underestimate small beginnings. The tallest tree once existed as a seed. The strongest athlete once completed a single push-up. The most disciplined person once struggled to wake up on time. Progress begins small, but only if it begins. Don't compare your routine to someone else's. Compare today's discipline to yesterday's. Become 1% more consistent, 1% more intentional, 1% more resilient. Those small improvements compound. Weeks become months, months become years. One day, people call you disciplined. They think you were born that way. They never saw the ordinary mornings, the repeated choices, the quiet victories, the thousands of moments when nobody was watching. Remember this: exercise is not punishment. It is preparation. You're preparing your body for effort, preparing your mind for resistance, preparing your emotions for challenge, preparing your character for leadership. That preparation influences everything. The parent becomes more patient. The entrepreneur becomes more focused. The student becomes more confident. The leader becomes more composed. Not because muscles solved every problem, because discipline changed the person facing those problems. Train your body. Strengthen your mind. Energy follows action. Discipline creates momentum. Repeat those words every morning. Allow them to become part of your identity. Tomorrow, don't ask whether you feel like training. Ask who you are becoming. Then move. One stretch, one walk, one set, one breath, one victory, and then another. Because discipline never arrives in giant leaps. It arrives through repeated actions that quietly reshape who you are. You have now learned to wake intentionally, act immediately, build systems, defend your attention, and create momentum through movement. But one final battle remains before the outside world gains access to your mind. You must learn to control your thoughts before someone else does. Chapter 6. Control your mind. Before others do. Every morning, someone is waiting to think for you. News headlines, social media feeds, advertisements, opinions, arguments, notifications, recommendations. The moment you open your eyes, the world begins competing for one thing: your attention. But beneath your attention lies something even more valuable: your thoughts. If you do not choose your first thoughts, someone else will. That is why disciplined mornings begin with silence. Not because silence is empty, because silence is powerful. Silence is where you remember who you are before the world tells you who you should become. Own your thoughts. Those 4 words are simple. Living them is not. Most people consume before they create. Before they've formed a single original thought, they've already absorbed hundreds of someone else's. A news headline shapes their mood. A social media post changes their confidence. A stranger's opinion steals their peace. An email creates anxiety. By 8 o'clock in the morning, they are emotionally reacting to problems they did not create. Their mind has become crowded before the day has truly begun. Then they wonder why they struggle to focus. The answer is simple. A crowded mind cannot think clearly. A distracted mind cannot lead confidently. A noisy mind cannot hear wisdom. Protect your mind. Imagine your mind as a garden. Every morning, seeds are planted. Some become confidence. Some become gratitude. Some become discipline. Others become fear, comparison, anger, resentment, doubt. The garden does not care who planted the seed. It simply grows whatever is repeatedly planted. Now ask yourself a difficult question. Who is planting the first seeds in your mind every morning? You? Or everyone else? If the first thing you consume is outrage, don't be surprised when irritation follows you all day. If the first thing you consume is comparison, don't be surprised when confidence disappears. If the first thing you consume is distraction, don't be surprised when focus becomes difficult. Your morning inputs become your daily outlook. That is why disciplined people become careful consumers. They understand that information is nutrition for the mind. Not all nutrition is healthy. You would never begin your day by eating garbage. So why begin your day by feeding your mind emotional junk? Protect your mind. Silence is preparation. Many people fear silence. Without constant stimulation, they become uncomfortable. They immediately reach for music, podcasts, videos, messages, anything to avoid being alone with their own thoughts. But growth often begins where distraction ends. When the noise disappears, something remarkable happens. You begin hearing yourself again. You notice what you've been avoiding. You notice what truly matters. You notice what needs to change. Silence reveals. Distraction conceals. That's the key. A few quiet minutes every morning can completely change the quality of your decisions. Not because silence magically solves problems, because silence allows you to see them clearly. One of the simplest ways to reclaim your thoughts is through journaling. Not because you're writing a masterpiece, because you're organizing your mind. Thoughts that remain trapped inside your head often become tangled. Thoughts placed on paper become visible. Visible thoughts become manageable. Write about your priorities. Write about your fears. Write about yesterday's lessons. Write about today's opportunities. Write one sentence if that's all you have time for. The goal is not perfect writing. The goal is intentional thinking. Own your thoughts. Another powerful practice is reading. Notice the difference between reading and scrolling. Scrolling encourages reaction. Reading encourages reflection. Scrolling fragments attention. Reading strengthens attention. Scrolling teaches your brain to expect constant novelty. Reading teaches your brain to remain with one idea long enough to understand it. Every page becomes a workout for your focus. Every chapter becomes another vote for patience. Imagine beginning your day by reading 10 pages from a meaningful book. Before checking headlines, before opening social media, before allowing the world's noise inside. You have already invested in wisdom before consuming distraction. That investment compounds. Day after day, year after year. Meditation offers another form of preparation. Many people misunderstand meditation. They think the goal is to stop thinking. It isn't. The goal is to stop obeying every thought. There is a difference. Thoughts appear naturally. Some are helpful, some are destructive. Meditation teaches you to observe without immediately reacting. That skill extends far beyond the morning. Later, during a stressful meeting, you pause instead of exploding. During an argument, you listen instead of interrupting. During disappointment, you breathe instead of panicking. The practice began in silence. The reward appears throughout the day. Silence is preparation. Consider a skilled archer. Before releasing the arrow, there is stillness, a steady breath, a focused mind. No rushing. The accuracy comes from the preparation before the movement. Your day works exactly the same way. The calmer your beginning, the clearer your aim. Rushing into the morning guarantees careless decisions. Intentional stillness creates intentional action. You don't need an hour. You don't need a mountain retreat. You don't need perfect conditions. 5 quiet minutes can change the direction of an entire day. Sit. Breathe. Think. Pray. Reflect. Write. Read. Be still. Allow your mind to belong to you before it belongs to the world. Protect your mind. Now let's talk about information. Information is valuable. But timing matters. There is nothing wrong with reading the news. There is nothing wrong with social media. There is nothing wrong with responding to messages. The problem is allowing those things to become your first influence every morning. When you begin the day consuming instead of creating, you teach your brain that reacting is more important than leading. Leadership begins internally. Before you lead a team, lead your thoughts. Before you influence others, influence yourself. Before you solve external problems, create internal clarity. That is real discipline. You have a choice. Tomorrow morning, delay the outside world. Not forever. Just long enough to establish your own direction first. Spend 20 minutes investing in your own mind before lending it to everyone else. Notice what changes. Notice how your thinking becomes calmer. Notice how your emotions become steadier. Notice how your attention becomes stronger. These are not accidents. They are the rewards of protecting your inner world. Remember this: the strongest people are not those who consume the most information. They are the ones who think most clearly. Clear thinking requires quiet. Quiet requires intention. Intention requires discipline. Own your thoughts. Protect your mind. Silence is preparation. Repeat those words until they become part of your morning ritual, because every day, someone will try to capture your attention. Only you can decide whether they capture your mind. You have now strengthened your body and protected your thoughts. The next step is even more demanding. You must deliberately seek resistance instead of avoiding it, because discipline does not grow in comfort. It grows wherever comfort ends. Chapter 7. Make hard things. Your morning habit. Every morning, 2 paths appear before you. One is comfortable. The other is meaningful. One asks for nothing. The other asks for effort. One promises immediate pleasure. The other promises long-term growth. Most people choose comfort. Disciplined people choose resistance. That single decision separates ordinary lives from extraordinary ones. The strongest people are not those who avoid difficult things. They are the ones who seek them before comfort has a chance to grow stronger. Do hard things first. Those 4 words can transform your life. Not because life should be miserable, because resistance is where discipline is built. Think about what happens when you delay the hardest task. You wake up knowing it needs to be done. But instead of beginning, you answer a few emails. You organize your desk. You check your messages. You make another cup of coffee. You tell yourself you're getting ready. Hours pass. The difficult task remains. Now something has changed. The task has become heavier. Not because it actually changed, because your mind has been carrying it all morning. Procrastination creates weight. Every hour you avoid the difficult thing, your imagination makes it seem even larger. Soon, you're exhausted before you've even begun. That's why disciplined people reverse the process. They attack resistance immediately, before excuses grow stronger, before distractions multiply, before comfort becomes too comfortable. Comfort can wait. Read those words slowly. Comfort can wait. Comfort is not the enemy. The problem is making comfort your priority. Modern life encourages exactly that. Everything is designed to be easier. Food arrives at your door. Entertainment appears instantly. Information is available in seconds. Convenience has become normal, but character has never been built through convenience. Character is built through voluntary difficulty. Choosing to exercise when staying in bed would be easier. Choosing to read when scrolling would be easier. Choosing to create when consuming would be easier. Choosing to begin when waiting feels safer. Every voluntary challenge strengthens you. Every unnecessary comfort weakens your willingness to struggle. Discipline grows under resistance. Imagine a blacksmith forging steel. The metal is heated, struck repeatedly, pressed under pressure. Without resistance, it remains weak. Human character develops the same way. Pressure reveals, resistance strengthens, difficulty refines. If you avoid everything hard, you also avoid becoming stronger. That is why your first meaningful task each morning matters so much, not because it is the biggest task, because it teaches your mind a lesson. I do not run from difficulty. That lesson changes how you approach the rest of your day. Suppose you're writing a book. The hardest part is often the first page. Write it first. Suppose you're building a business. The hardest task may be making difficult sales calls. Make them first. Suppose you're studying for an important exam. Begin with the most challenging subject, not the easiest one. Suppose you have an uncomfortable conversation you must have. Don't postpone it until evening. Prepare thoughtfully, then face it. Do hard things first. This isn't about suffering for the sake of suffering. It is about priorities. Easy tasks create the illusion of productivity. Hard tasks create actual progress. Many people confuse movement with advancement. They answer emails all morning and feel busy. They organize files, rearrange calendars, respond to messages. Then they wonder why nothing important has changed. Because they completed easy work while avoiding meaningful work. Activity is not achievement. Busyness is not progress. Results come from confronting what matters most. That's the key. Ask yourself one question every morning. What is the one task I least want to do, but most need to do? There is your answer. Begin there. Your resistance is pointing toward your growth. Every difficult task contains two rewards. The obvious reward is completing the task itself. The hidden reward is becoming someone who finishes difficult things. The second reward is far more valuable. Because completed tasks disappear. Character remains. Discipline grows under resistance. Think about an athlete preparing for competition. The workout is uncomfortable. The muscles burn. The lungs ache. Yet they continue. Not because they enjoy suffering every second, because they understand what suffering produces. Strength, endurance, confidence. Your daily responsibilities work exactly the same way. The uncomfortable project, the challenging workout, the difficult conversation, the early wake-up, each one strengthens an invisible muscle, your ability to act despite discomfort. That muscle determines far more about your future than talent ever will. Talent gives you opportunity. Discipline allows you to keep it. You have a choice. Every morning you can ask, what feels easiest? Or you can ask, what will make me stronger? Those questions lead to completely different lives. One creates temporary comfort. The other creates permanent capability. Imagine two people at the end of a year. The first always chose the easier option. The second repeatedly chose the harder but more meaningful one. The difference between them will no longer be small. It will be enormous. Not because of one dramatic decision, because of hundreds of ordinary mornings. Remember this: resistance fades once action begins. The hardest part of a cold shower isn't the water, it's stepping into it. The hardest part of a workout isn't the exercise, it's putting on your shoes. The hardest part of writing isn't the words, it's opening the blank page. The hardest part of almost everything is beginning. After that, momentum takes over. That's why disciplined people move quickly toward resistance. They know hesitation gives fear time to grow. Action shrinks fear. Delay feeds it. Comfort can wait. That sentence should become part of your morning vocabulary. When your bed calls your name, comfort can wait. When your phone promises entertainment, comfort can wait. When your mind suggests postponing important work, comfort can wait. Not forever, just until the important work is done. Then enjoy your rest without guilt. Rest earned through discipline feels completely different from comfort chosen instead of discipline. One restores you, the other weakens you. There is another hidden benefit to doing difficult things first. Peace. The rest of your day becomes lighter. You no longer carry unfinished responsibility on your shoulders. Instead of thinking, "I still have to do that," you think, "I'm already making progress." Confidence replaces anxiety. Momentum replaces hesitation. Calm replaces guilt. All because you made one courageous decision early in the day. Do hard things first. Comfort can wait. Discipline grows under resistance. Repeat those words until they stop sounding like advice. Repeat them until they become your standard, because life will always offer comfort first. Growth rarely comes with the first invitation. It waits on the other side of resistance. Walk toward it anyway. Every morning, every week, every year. Eventually, difficult things no longer frighten you. They become familiar. And when difficulty becomes familiar, discipline becomes your identity. You have now learned to seek resistance instead of avoiding it. The next step is even more powerful, because every difficult action you complete becomes a promise you keep to yourself, and those promises become the foundation of genuine confidence. Chapter 8. Become the person who keeps promises. Every morning begins with a promise. Not a promise made to your employer, not a promise made to your family, not a promise made to the world, a promise made to yourself. I will wake up. I will train. I will stay focused. I will do the difficult thing first. These promises may seem small, but your life is built on them, because every promise you keep strengthens your character. Every promise you break weakens your trust in yourself. That is why discipline is deeply personal. No one else has to know whether you kept your word. You know. And your mind never forgets. Trust yourself. Those two words are far more valuable than confidence, because confidence without trust is fragile. A person may appear confident in front of others while secretly doubting every decision they make. Why? Because they have spent years breaking promises to themselves. I'll start tomorrow. I'll wake up earlier. I'll stop procrastinating. I'll exercise. I'll read. I'll change. Tomorrow comes. Nothing changes. The words disappear. But something remains. Evidence. Your brain collects it. Every broken promise becomes another reason not to believe yourself. Eventually, you stop expecting yourself to follow through. Not because you're incapable, because you've trained yourself to expect inconsistency. That is the hidden danger of broken promises. They don't simply affect your schedule, they affect your identity. Identity follows action. Read that again. Identity follows action, not intention, not desire, not potential. Action. The world celebrates potential, but your mind only believes evidence. Imagine two people. The first constantly says, "I'm disciplined." The second never says those words. Instead, they quietly wake up on time. Exercise. Read. Finish difficult work. Repeat the process tomorrow. Which person actually believes they are disciplined? The second, because they don't need to convince themselves. They have proof. Confidence grows from proof, not praise. Many people spend years searching for confidence. They read books, watch motivational videos, repeat positive affirmations. Those practices can be helpful, but none of them replace evidence. Real confidence sounds different. It says, "I know I can do this because I've done difficult things before." Notice the difference. Confidence built on compliments disappears when criticism arrives. Confidence built on evidence remains, because facts are stronger than opinions. Trust yourself. Every completed promise adds another piece of evidence. You said you would wake up. You did. You said you would exercise. You did. You said you would stay off your phone. You did. One promise. Then another. Then another. None of them seem extraordinary. Together, they become identity. Small victories become powerful identities. Never underestimate small victories. Modern culture celebrates dramatic success. The promotion, the championship, the $1,000,000 business, the transformation photo. Those moments are exciting, but they are built upon thousands of invisible victories. No audience applauds when you get out of bed on time. No trophy is awarded for choosing water instead of another distraction. Nobody celebrates the moment you finish reading 10 pages. Yet these ordinary victories quietly shape extraordinary lives. Think about building a brick wall. One brick appears insignificant. So does the second, the third, the 100th. But eventually, there is a wall strong enough to support an entire building. Your habits work exactly the same way. Every promise kept is another brick, another piece of evidence, another reason to trust yourself. Eventually, your character becomes so strong that difficult days no longer destroy your progress. The foundation is already there. That's the key. You are not trying to win one morning. You are trying to become someone who can be trusted every morning. There will be days when nobody is watching. Those are the days that matter most. Because discipline has never depended on applause. Imagine two runners training before sunrise. One posts every workout online. The other trains quietly. Months later, race day arrives. The finish line doesn't care who received more attention. It only reflects who prepared. Life works the same way. Reality rewards preparation, not performance. Preparation creates performance. Preparation begins with promises kept. You have a choice. Every morning you decide what kind of relationship you will have with yourself. Will you become someone whose words carry weight? Or someone whose promises disappear with every new emotion? Relationships are built on trust. That includes the relationship you have with yourself. If a friend repeatedly broke every promise they made to you, eventually you would stop believing them. Your mind behaves exactly the same way. It watches. It remembers. It forms expectations. The good news is that trust can always be rebuilt. Not through speeches, through consistency. Perhaps you've broken promises for years. Start today. Keep one promise. Tomorrow, keep another. Don't try to rebuild your entire life overnight. Rebuild your credibility. One decision at a time. One sunrise at a time. One promise at a time. Identity follows action. Many people wait until they feel disciplined before acting. Disciplined people understand the opposite. They act until discipline becomes who they are. Action comes first. Identity follows. Think of someone learning to play the piano. They don't become a pianist before practicing. They become a pianist by practicing. The same is true of discipline. You don't become disciplined before doing disciplined things. You become disciplined by repeating them. Every repetition becomes another vote, another piece of evidence, another reason to believe in yourself. One day, someone compliments your confidence. They assume you were born with it. They don't see the years of promises kept, the mornings, the routines, the difficult decisions, the invisible victories. Confidence was never given. It was earned, quietly, patiently, daily. Small victories become powerful identities. Remember that the next time you think a habit is too small to matter. Making your bed matters. Keeping your morning routine matters. Finishing the workout matters. Reading one chapter matters. Writing one page matters. Not because the task changes your life overnight, because each completed action changes your opinion of yourself, and your opinion of yourself shapes every future decision. Trust yourself. Identity follows action. Small victories become powerful identities. Repeat those words tomorrow morning. Then prove them true. Not by talking, by acting. One promise. One victory. One morning. Again and again. Eventually, you no longer wonder whether you are disciplined. You know, because your actions have been introducing you to that person every single day. You have now built routines, protected your attention, embraced resistance, and learned to trust yourself through consistent action. The final lesson is not about doing something extraordinary once. It is about repeating ordinary actions until they become inseparable from who you are. Because greatness is never created in a single morning. It is created across thousands of them. Chapter 9. Repeat until it becomes your nature. One perfect morning will not change your life. One disciplined workout will not transform your body. One healthy meal will not restore your health. One productive day will not build a remarkable career. We often overestimate what one day can accomplish. At the same time, we underestimate what thousands of ordinary days can become. That is where discipline lives. Not in extraordinary moments, in ordinary repetition. Repetition becomes identity. Those words explain almost every lasting transformation. People often ask, how do I become disciplined? The better question is, what kind of actions am I willing to repeat? Because your future is not built by what you occasionally do. It is built by what you repeatedly do. Success is repetitive. Failure is repetitive. Confidence is repetitive. Doubt is repetitive. Every identity is the result of repeated behavior. Imagine a river flowing through solid rock. The water is soft. The stone is hard. Yet over enough time, the water reshapes the rock. Not through force, through consistency. Your habits work the same way. Each morning seems insignificant. Each routine appears ordinary. But repetition slowly reshapes your character. Day after day. Week after week. Year after year. Until one day, people see someone completely different. Not because you changed overnight, because you never stopped repeating the right actions. The ordinary creates the extraordinary. Most people are searching for breakthroughs. Disciplined people are building routines. That is the difference. A breakthrough feels exciting. A routine feels boring. Yet routines produce the breakthroughs everyone admires. Think about a concert pianist. The audience sees a flawless performance. What they never see are the thousands of ordinary practice sessions, the scales, the repetitions, the mistakes, the corrections, no applause, no audience, just repetition. The performance is impressive because the practice was consistent. Think about a marathon runner. Race day lasts only a few hours. Preparation lasts months. Early mornings, long runs, sore muscles, rainy days, days without motivation. They don't become capable on race day. Race day simply reveals what repetition has already created. Life works exactly the same way. The moments everyone notices are built upon thousands of moments nobody sees. Repetition becomes identity. Many people quit because progress feels invisible. They wake up early for 3 days. Nothing changes. They exercise for a week. Nothing dramatic happens. They read every morning for a month. Life still feels ordinary. So they stop. They mistake invisible progress for no progress. But the strongest changes happen quietly. Just because you cannot see a tree growing every day doesn't mean it isn't growing. Just because you cannot see your discipline strengthening every morning doesn't mean it isn't happening. Growth often happens beneath the surface long before it becomes visible. That's the key. Trust the process before the results appear. Never miss twice. This may be one of the most important principles in this entire audiobook. You will have imperfect mornings. You will oversleep. You will get sick. You will travel. Life will interrupt your routine. That is normal. Discipline does not require perfection. It requires recovery. Missing one day is an event. Missing 2 days begins a pattern. One unhealthy meal changes very little. A week of unhealthy eating changes much more. One skipped workout matters little. Months of avoiding movement create consequences. Never miss twice. If today wasn't your best morning, tomorrow matters even more. Do not waste energy feeling guilty. Use that energy to begin again. The disciplined person is not someone who never falls. The disciplined person simply refuses to stay down. Every sunrise offers another opportunity. Take it. You have a choice. Imagine 2 people. Both miss their morning routine. The first says, "I've ruined my streak," then gives up for another week. The second says, "Tomorrow I return." The difference seems small. After 1 year, it becomes enormous. One mistake does not define you. Repeated surrender does. Remember that whenever life becomes difficult, the ordinary creates the extraordinary. People love extraordinary stories. The entrepreneur who built a company, the athlete who won a championship, the author who published a bestseller. But extraordinary stories almost always begin with ordinary mornings. Wake up, drink water, move, read, think, work, repeat. Nothing glamorous, nothing dramatic, nothing exciting enough to become a viral video, just quiet discipline. Repeated. Again, again, again. The world often celebrates intensity, extreme diets, impossible workout plans, 16-hour workdays, 30-day transformations. Intensity creates excitement. Consistency creates results. Anyone can have one incredible day. Few people can have 1,000 ordinary disciplined days. Those are the people who change their lives. Consistency defeats intensity. Remember that. Imagine lighting a fire. A giant explosion creates excitement for a moment. A steady flame provides warmth all night. Your habits should become that steady flame. Reliable, predictable, constant, not explosive, steady. Because steady effort survives difficult seasons. There will be mornings when you feel inspired. Follow the routine. There will be mornings when you feel discouraged. Follow the routine. There will be mornings when life feels unfair. Follow the routine. Your emotions may change. Your standards should not. Eventually, something remarkable happens. You stop forcing yourself. The routine begins pulling you forward. The alarm rings. You rise. Not because it feels easy, because it feels normal. Exercise no longer feels unusual. Reading no longer feels like work. Planning your day no longer feels optional. Discipline has become your default. This is what habit truly means. Not that the action becomes effortless, but that it becomes familiar. Familiarity removes resistance. That is why repetition matters more than intensity. Every repetition makes tomorrow slightly easier. Every repetition strengthens the pathway inside your mind. Every repetition whispers the same message. This is who we are now. Repetition becomes identity. Think about your name. You don't wake up wondering what it is. It has become part of you through repetition. Your morning routine should eventually feel the same. Not something you remember to do, something you simply do. That is when discipline becomes nature. Not because life became easier, because your standards became permanent. Never miss twice. Repeat those words whenever you stumble, not as criticism, as encouragement. You're always one disciplined morning away from returning to your path. The ordinary creates the extraordinary. Repeat those words whenever your progress feels invisible. Trust yourself. Trust the process. Trust the repetition, because every sunrise offers another opportunity to cast one more vote for the person you are becoming. One morning, one routine, one promise, repeated thousands of times. That is how ordinary people quietly build extraordinary lives. You have learned how to wake with purpose, defend your attention, embrace resistance, build trust, and repeat disciplined actions until they become part of your identity. Now, there is only one lesson left. The lesson that ties everything together, because every sunrise is more than another morning. It is another opportunity to decide who you will become. Chapter 10. Own every sunrise. Own your future. Everything begins again tomorrow morning. Not next year. Not next month. Not after life becomes easier. Tomorrow. When the alarm sounds, this entire audiobook becomes either knowledge or action. Because knowledge alone has never transformed a life. Applied discipline does. That has always been the message. This was never a book about waking up early. It was never about productivity hacks. It was never about morning routines for the sake of routines. It was about becoming the kind of person who chooses growth before comfort. Every morning is a declaration. It announces who you are becoming, not to the world, to yourself. Every sunrise is another beginning. Those words contain enormous power, because they remind you that yesterday does not own today. Perhaps yesterday was wasted. Perhaps yesterday was filled with excuses. Perhaps yesterday you overslept. Perhaps yesterday you quit. Today is different. Not because the world changed, because another sunrise has arrived, and another sunrise always brings another decision. You have a choice. That sentence has echoed throughout this audiobook for a reason, because your future is not determined by circumstances alone. It is shaped by decisions repeated consistently. Every morning asks the same question: who will lead today? Comfort or discipline? Excuses or action? Impulse or purpose? There is no neutral answer. Every decision casts another vote. Every sunrise is another beginning. Think back to everything you've learned. You learned that the day begins before you stand. You learned to win the first 5 minutes. You built a system that no longer depends on motivation. You removed distractions before they stole your attention. You trained your body to strengthen your mind. You protected your thoughts before the world could influence them. You learned to seek resistance instead of avoiding it. You became someone who keeps promises. You discovered that repetition quietly becomes identity. Each lesson seemed simple. Together, they become a philosophy. Not a collection of habits. A way of living. Because mornings are never just mornings. They are rehearsals for your character. How you begin anything influences how you continue everything. Imagine two futures. In the first, you continue living exactly as you always have. The alarm rings. You delay. You scroll. You rush. You react. Days become weeks. Weeks become years. Nothing changes. Not because opportunity never appeared, because preparation never became consistent. Now imagine another future. The alarm rings. You rise immediately. You hydrate. You move. You breathe. You think clearly. You protect your attention. You complete the difficult task. You repeat tomorrow. Then again. 1 year later, you're healthier. 5 years later, you're more respected. 10 years later, your entire life looks different. Not because of one perfect decision, because of thousands of ordinary mornings. The gap between those futures is not luck. It is discipline. Win the morning. Win your life. Consider your career. Promotions rarely belong only to the most talented. They often belong to the most dependable. The person who arrives prepared. The person who follows through. The person who remains calm under pressure. Those qualities are practiced every morning long before they are noticed in the workplace. Discipline travels with you. It walks into every meeting, every interview, every opportunity. Your career is influenced by your mornings far more than you realize. Now think about your relationships. Patience begins with self-control. Listening begins with presence. Kindness becomes easier when you are no longer exhausted from chaotic mornings. The discipline you practice alone eventually becomes the character others experience. Your family may never see your morning routine, but they will feel its effects. A calmer parent, a more dependable partner, a more present friend. Discipline improves relationships because disciplined people become emotionally available. Now consider your health. Health is rarely destroyed overnight. It is shaped through repeated choices. The morning walk, the healthy breakfast, the decision to move instead of remain still, the decision to sleep instead of endlessly scrolling. Every ordinary choice quietly becomes extraordinary health years later. The same principle applies to your finances. Financial stability rarely appears because of one brilliant decision. It grows through repeated discipline. Planning instead of reacting. Saving instead of spending impulsively. Thinking long-term instead of chasing immediate pleasure. Morning discipline trains exactly that mindset. Delayed gratification. The ability to sacrifice today's comfort for tomorrow's freedom. And then there is character. The one achievement nobody can give you. Character cannot be purchased. It cannot be inherited. It cannot be borrowed. It must be built. One promise. One action. One sunrise at a time. Character is what remains when circumstances change. Money may disappear. Jobs may change. Recognition may fade. But disciplined character continues making disciplined decisions. That is true wealth. You have a choice. Never forget those words. Every single morning they return, sometimes quietly, sometimes loudly, but they always return. You can ignore them, or you can answer them. Remember this: life is not won through dramatic moments. It is won through repeated ordinary moments, handled with extraordinary consistency. The world celebrates milestones. Discipline celebrates mornings. Milestones happen occasionally. Mornings happen every day. That is why mornings are so powerful. They give you another opportunity every 24 hours. Another chance to begin again. Another chance to rebuild trust. Another chance to strengthen your identity. Another chance to choose your future. Every sunrise is another beginning. Perhaps someone listening today feels behind. Perhaps you believe you have wasted years. Perhaps regret has become your companion. Listen carefully. The sun does not ask what happened yesterday before it rises again. It simply rises. Nature reminds you every morning that renewal is possible. Do the same. Leave yesterday where it belongs. Carry the lesson, not the regret. Because regret without action becomes another excuse. Action transforms regret into wisdom. That's the key. There will never be a perfect morning. There will only be this morning. The one in front of you. The one waiting tomorrow. Protect it. Respect it. Use it wisely. Do not underestimate its power simply because it looks ordinary. History is filled with extraordinary lives built upon ordinary mornings. So can yours. Years from now, people may ask what changed. They may assume you discovered a secret. You can smile, because you'll know the truth. Nothing magical happened. You simply stopped surrendering your mornings. You began leading them, and eventually, they led you somewhere remarkable. Win the morning. Win your life. Let those words become more than a slogan. Let them become your standard. Tomorrow morning, when the alarm sounds, do not ask whether you feel ready. Do not wait for confidence. Do not negotiate with comfort. Stand up. Take the first step. Then the second. Then the third. Repeat what you've learned. Wake with purpose. Move before motivation. Protect your attention. Strengthen your body. Guard your mind. Do the hard thing first. Keep your promises. Repeat until discipline becomes your nature. One sunrise, one choice, one life. You have a choice. Every sunrise is another beginning. Win the morning. Win your life. Every disciplined life begins with one disciplined morning. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Today. Every sunrise offers the same question. Will you lead your day, or will your impulses lead you? The alarm is not your enemy. Comfort is. Excuses are. Delay is. The world will always demand your attention. Your future demands your discipline. You don't need perfect mornings. You need consistent ones. Wake up. Stand up. Move. Think clearly. Do the hard thing first. Repeat. Again tomorrow. Again next week. Again next month. Again next year. Because greatness is never created by one extraordinary day. It is created by ordinary mornings repeated with extraordinary discipline. So beginning with your very next sunrise, make one promise. No negotiations, no excuses, no delay. Win the morning, and little by little, you will win your life. If this message challenged you, return to it often. Let these principles become your morning companion until discipline is no longer something you practice, but someone you become.